welcome back to my channel. I have honestly read a lot of really good, informative, empowering, thought-provoking books that really have played a major role in just my perspective and putting 2020 in itself in the right perspective for myself. And so basically I just wanted to share it with you guys. Hopefully it'll be helpful for somebody, maybe my book cousins or people who are just looking to read more, or just people who are looking for, you know, trying something new. You ready to try anything, even read, okay? Make sure that you subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on to all and not personalized, so that you are updated every single time that I upload a video. And now let's get started. You guys catch me looking down. It's just that I like to use my iPad to read ebooks because I feel like I keep all the notes and important things I want to remember right along with me. So yeah, there are definitely tons of options to incorporate these reads without actually having to get a physical copy of a book. So whatever floats your boat. So the first book that I definitely want to mention, because it by far and large is the center, I feel like the center of my piece, the piece that has just really surpassed all my comprehension, that piece that only God can give you, I also attribute to this book, okay? The book is called Digital Minimalism: Choosing a Focused Life in a Noisy World. And so it really isn't just the book in itself. The book in itself, there are tons of different books that focus on this concept of digital minimalism. And so digital minimalism is the concept in itself that really has become the basis of my 2020 survival. The basic concept of digital minimalism is minimizing at all costs, like to bare minimum. So minimizing to the bare minimum your amount of time that you give to digital, social media, internet platforms. I needed to find something. I needed to find an outlet. Of course, you guys know we always got Jesus, okay? But I also knew that I needed to change just my relationship with social media. I cannot stress this enough. I know I've been very transparent with you guys, but anxiety is a real issue for me. Anxiety is not something that I say that I have because it's popular, you know. It isn't something that I just picked up on and just said, okay, I have some of those traits, I have anxiety. No, it has gotten very real for me on a number of times. What this book basically began talking about is just how insidious social media, your engagement and your relationships with social media can be. And almost immediately it read me from top to bottom. One of the first things this book talks about is solitude deprivation, and it's a state in which you spend close to zero time alone with your own thoughts. When you spend so much time on social media, now we have almost been programmed to not be comfortable with not having anything to do. I know almost everybody who is watching this video can probably relate to the sense that when you are bored, you immediately pick up your phone, whether it be to check the time, check the notifications, mindlessly scroll through social media, making sure you catch every post on your Instagram or your Facebook or your Twitter, and you really don't even realize that you don't give yourself any time to not be bombarded with literally thousands of opinions. But the huge thing that I pulled from this book was I love this book because it gives you actual real life steps and practices to start to minimize it. It's not like it tells you all these things are bad and makes you like really just look at yourself and like, yeah, social media takes over my life. But the big thing that I took away from this book was two things. The first thing being the Dunbar study. But essentially what the Dunbar study shows is that our brains really aren't even hardwired to know the comings and goings, the intimate details, to be so closely everyday connected with more than about 100 to 150 people. There's some, cases in the study where it says it could stretch to 250, but just realizing myself, I found that to be true. In a real life, everyday basis, people who they kind of give an example, if you ran into them randomly in public, that you would actually feel comfortable to sit down and have a cup of coffee with those people. For me, it is less than 100 people. Like, if I'm being 100% honest with myself, it is definitely less than 100 people that I would do that with. And so you begin to ask yourself, well, then why do I feel the need to maintain constant connection, interaction, engagement, and allow, most importantly, allow all these impeding opinions to play a role in my everyday life if I know that in real life I wouldn't even sit down and have a cup of coffee with most of these people. The second book that I highly recommend reading just to help survive 2020, this is going to be especially for my people who just are where I am, and especially where I was probably about 90 days post no arrest for I got to a point where I didn't even feel like the system was broken. I felt like the system needed to be completely dismantled and rebuilt because the system is, yeah. Which of course led me to my hometown hero, Angela Davis.
Anyone who's interested in making change in the world also has to learn how to take care of herself, himself, their self.
But I really got into reading her actual works on prison abolition, on not just prison reform, but abolishing the prison system as we know it today, and why. I know a lot of people, when you hear the term abolish or defund or abolition, you probably think of slavery, which you should, and you still should in the modern day prison industrial complex conversations. But it can be really scary and confusing if you don't know. So the best way to know is to educate yourself. And I began to read a lot of her works, just starting just basically frustrated with the system, and then really just finding myself agreeing with a lot of what she says.
We're still living the afterlives of slavery and the afterlives of apartheid and the afterlives of Jim Crow. In the U.S., we see it in the fact that there are more people behind bars in the U.S. Than in any other country in the world.
Another super great book that I read for surviving 2020 is Hood Feminism, which I just really couldn't find a better term to describe what I am. I feel like a hood feminist, but it's just a really good combination of a ton of essays that really just hit the heart of what it feels like to be a Black woman in America, with so many different battles and fights and battles that we just take on. We take on a lot of things as women of color, and I just feel like this book did a really great way of just saying, I hear you. She says, I've accepted that I never will, that I'll probably never even want to cut away the parts of me that protrude in the wrong directions. I like not having to live up to the expectations of people who don't like me. I enjoy knowing that my choices won't be acceptable to everyone. My feminism doesn't center on those who are comfortable with the status quo, because ultimately that road can never lead to equity for girls like me. I'm the feminist people call when being sweet isn't enough, when saying things kindly repeatedly is not working. Another book that I personally think would be really great to read in 2020 to help you survive it. Some people may call it a fad. Some people may kind of roll their eyes when they hear it, but the life-changing magic of tidying up.
I'm decluttering my life. You know Marie Kondo?
No.
You don't?
No.
She's Japanese.
Okay.
You still don't know her.
If making the space that you live was ever more important. It's in 2020 when still in August, a lot of us are, you know, still on lockdown. I feel like we all should be because America just ain't listening. But if no time like the present in making sure that your home isn't cluttered, it's now, because you have to be here all the time, especially if you live in LA. Nothing is still open. Like, I went back to the South and they got everything open, and in Vegas they got everything open and stuff. It's still not open here for the most part. So, you know, especially, I know I've experienced it being stuck in the house, bored in the house, and you in the house bored, you know, like, at the very least, do everything that you can to make your space a space that when you wake up in the morning and you look around, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel at peace. When you come back in from your trip to the mailbox, that's the only place that you can go because ain't nothing else open and everything else is quarantined and shut down and locked down. When you walk back in your house, walk into a nice house. Walk into a house that smells good. Walk into a house that you're letting plenty of sunlight in and, you know, it's not cluttered. Another book that I personally feel like is crucial in everybody getting through 2020, white, black, brown, and yellow, alike, everybody, child, is White Fragility. Now, I do want to preface this by saying that this book was written by a white woman from a white person's perspective. So I do know that there are authors and there is opposing opinions and viewpoints on whether or not this book is necessary or effective or even should be as highly revered as it is in the Black community. But the reason that I personally feel like that it was a great read, and something I feel like everybody should read first and foremost, I feel like white people should read this book because that is who that book was written for. It was written by a white woman of the perspective of a white person to white people to address their white fragility, exactly what the book is about. And I think that is very important for a white person to write that, because as a Black person, we've all experienced trying to have those conversations with certain people who aren't ready to have those conversations, aren't ready to admit certain realities that are different for them, that aren't the same case for you. A lot of times that's just human. You are more likely to be receptive of someone's suggestions or their what I call corrections, their loving corrections. So you can be convicted or condemned or corrected. When you are convicted to do something, usually when I speak on that, that is self-conviction that comes to a self-realization and actualization that you need to change how you're behaving, your perspective. You're convicted to do better. Condemnation, condemning is something that you do to someone else, something that someone shames you or speaks down upon you, or, you know, condescends you into feeling a certain way. And sometimes people don't even realize that they have a condemning tone or a condemning spirit or a judgmental nature. Sometimes what people feel like is loving correction is really judgmental condemnation, and you just kind of have to pray about that. A lot of that starts with understanding that everything isn't your job to correct somebody on. It's not your ministry, okay? Maybe it ain't your job to put that person or to present that to that person. So that is again a video for another day, conversation for another day. It's not your job, but if you care about somebody, if you do see that somebody has a genuine, true want to be a better ally, it's always great to be able to give people resources. You can't read the book for them. You can't understand the book for them. You cannot do the work for others, but I like to have resources to give to people, and I don't like to suggest nothing that I ain't never read. So racism is deeply embedded in the fabric of our society. It is not limited to a single act or person, nor does it move back and forth, one day benefiting whites and another day or even error benefiting people of color. So again, there is no such thing as reverse racism. You cannot maneuver racism to say that white people were racist and now black people are racist. Whites hold the social and institutional positions in society to infuse their racial prejudice into the laws, policies, practices, and norms of society in a way that people of color do not. And then last but not least, I wanted to end this out with a book that I feel like I didn't read until 2020, but it sums up, I feel like, everybody's feelings on 2020 at this point, which is We're Gonna Need More Wine, child. We're Gonna Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union is a book that is more like a combination of different stories, essays, and things over the course of her life up until she wrote that book, starting from very early childhood. And this book was just such a refreshing read. It is a read that I feel like every woman just deserves to sit down with a glass of wine and just relate, relax, relate, release. There are very serious topics that she does touch on this book, such as her issues with fertility. She also touches on, I believe, colorism. But the main reason that I love this book is the main reason that I also love Gabrielle Union. One is because I feel like Gabrielle Union, for a number of years, maybe over the last decade, really, I feel like probably as she began to come into herself and be comfortable with herself as a woman, she's been very transparent. She always tell it like it is, and she does that in this book. But the main reason I love Gabrielle is for her humor. She is just naturally one of the wittiest, funniest actresses, celebrities, I feel like, that I follow on social media. Yo ex's ex, I feel like everybody has at least one story of getting into it with their ex's ex. And Quishan, I just really would love for Quishan and Gabrielle Union to come together to do a to do like a sit down, one of those little sit downs like they be doing face to face after all these years. I would pay good money, okay? I would subscribe, I would do whatever I needed to do, make it happen, to find out who Quishan is and if she's still after our good sis Gabby, okay? And I just want to read you just a snippet. Mom, that's her, I yelled. That's her. She turned and stared at Quishan, who couldn't believe her look. I can't believe, Mom said, you are scared of a girl wearing a bullet bra. I had no idea what Quishan's bra had to do with me, since I was going to die at the bottom of that escalator. I'm gonna whip your fucking ass for Angela, Quishan yelled as we slowly moved towards her. I don't care if your mama here. I'm gonna whip your mama ass too. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video. When I started this video, the sun was up. It was still good in the mid-afternoon, and taking you through all the things that have helped me and that I've read over the course so far in 2020. Here we are. We're in the evening, and now it's time for me to sit down with a glass of wine and a good book and continue my journey. If you guys enjoyed this video, I highly recommend checking out some of my other book videos. If you guys enjoyed this video and it was your first time on my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I also have other book videos in my books playlist, and I will be coming to you guys very soon with a end of the year book haul. So far I've read, I think, 89 books, so tons of books to get through. I don't even know how I'm gonna get through that entire haul. I'm gonna have to like section it off or something, but make sure that you are subscribed with your notifications turned on so you don't miss all the videos coming up. I love you guys so much. Let me know down in the comment section any books that you've read so far this year that have made a huge impact on your life, or that you just think that I will really enjoy. I'll be sure to check it out, and I will see all you guys in the next upload.